Hello everybody, welcome to the Apollo 13 real-time simulation. It's last video. We are on the debriefing of the flight days 3 to flight day 6. As you know, these flight days include where the accident of Apollo 13 happened. First of all, before starting, I want to give thanks to everyone who participated on the stream, on the training, on the chat, not on the chat, watching, giving likes, helping me train for the mission, having patience during the training process. Everybody who participated, and especially during flight day 5 and flight day 6, where you will discover now on the debriefing, I started doing some mistakes, so thanks for the patience and sorry for doing those mistakes. Also, thanks to Stephen Slater and Ben Feist from Apollo in Real Time interactive experience, because thanks to that website I was able to perform a perfect Apollo 13 real-time simulation. Without that, this will not have been possible. Okay, so let's start with flight day 3. Flight day 3 started for me at 46 hours 37 minutes mission elapsed time. At the start of the flight day we had the consumables update, and I made up that the O2 tank 2 quantity was 100%. On the virtual cockpit we could not see that, but turns out that it was simulated in NASSP. That anomaly was in NASSP, but was on the 2D panel only. Later in the day we saw that on the 2D panel the quantity for oxygen tank 2 showed incorrect data as in the actual mission. Later, moving ahead on the timeline of flight day 3, we performed the supercritical helium checkout on the early LEM familiarization, which probably, as I was doing it early, probably some of you figure out that I was going to do the accident version of the mission. But I wanted to make sure to hide this red thing on the script to avoid the spoilers and to keep up the suspense for that. Okay, and so the accident happened. The TV transmission during LEM familiarization had to be a little bit short because I was waiting for the roll on the CSM to get to 285 degrees. So the TV transmission started a little bit late and finished a little bit early. Was a little bit short because I knew that the accident was going to come at a very specific time. So before the accident I prepared I closed the LEM hatch, I prepared the maneuver to 60 degrees roll for observation of the comet Bennett, and then perform the cryosteer. Then the accident happened as expected. I included a loud bang sound there myself. Sorry for making you jump out of your chairs for that. And I perform all the accident steps that I had practiced. However, on my case, and I think it's because I was using an outdated scenario to practice, because the practice scenario I was using for the accident and the hours beyond that was from July. I got more lights and the CM was draining power faster than on my practice run, and that made me a little bit nervous. I lost for some reason. I don't think well, maybe when I publish the scenarios we can find out what happened, if I did some mistake or something like that. If I did, I will update this. But I lost the CSM early than I wanted, so I had to jump quickly to the LEM to activate the RCS systems. For that I cheated a little bit to perform the final line. I used Project Apollo MFD, but not the Corsa line. The Corsa line I calculated myself and cross-checked with the Project Apollo MFD, but the final line I used the numbers for final line from Project Apollo MFD. I was told that, well, that is not specifically cheating because Houston will have give me the numbers for performing the final line, and because of stress, because of the workload, I didn't catch that the direct attitude circuit breaker was opened on panel 11, and that is why I was tumbling a little bit, drifting with the CM without power and the LEM without RCS. However, luckily I didn't fall into gimbal lock and could take control of the lunar module and perform a good MCC free return. Later, after MCC free return, we performed the PTC in phases of 90 degrees. We maneuver as the actual mission to the PTC attitude. I used the exact same attitude for PTC than the actual mission. We were doing 90 degrees turns hour by hour, and unfortunately, but fortunately, I think I missed 190 degree PTC or did it late in favor of more sleep. Okay, and that concludes flight day 3. Flight day 3 concluded at hour 69. Flight day 4 started at hour 70, and I was very careful with RCS fuel, and now I would like to make a comment here. Order rate stopped earlier or I am very good lunar module pilot with the TTCA because of all the training I did. I felt very comfortable maneuvering the lunar module, very comfortable on the sun check with past. We performed the sun check a little bit before passing behind the moon, and it passed hour 74. But well, and then I successfully maneuvered to the burn attitude, to the PC+2 burn attitude, and could keep it on pings min-imp, I think, verse 76, could keep the LEM there quite good without using much RCS. I am very happy about the RCS usage during this flight. It was perfect. Felt a little bit below, but then I was able, with how conservative I was with RCS fuel, even better than on the actual mission. I was very good on fuel. Messed up a little bit because I wanted to fine align the attitude just a little bit, use a fine touch of the attitude. But as I was, the PC+2 burn attitude was a little bit complicated, and as I was on that attitude, I messed up a little bit the attitude and had a little bit of problems, but could solve them. I ended up doing a verse 77 to stop everything. Didn't help. Had to relax, take a breath, and figure out each axis one at a time, but could do it correctly. Lunar module activation on the 2-hour contingency checklist for PC+2 was good. We had time to spare there, and we performed a perfect PC+2 with no residuals, and then went back to sleep at 84 hours. But however, I felt asleep at the scheduled wake up of 86 hours. I don't remember exactly what I was supposed to do there. I know it was nothing important, but I felt asleep and woke up 1 hour early. I think it was 1 hour early naturally. I woke up at hour 90. So yeah, after PC+2 I went to sleep at hour 84. I was supposed to wake up at 86 but didn't, and wake up at 90 hours versus 91 hours, 1 hour early. I think I naturally woke up. Then flight day 5, we performed the square one checklist on the command module, and by mistake opened all the circuit breakers on panel 226 by mistake. There was a good lunar module activation on the 30 minutes contingency checklist, and we performed a perfect mid-course correction 5. And MCC5 is one part on the training where I was a little bit scared about messing up, because it's an important burn that sets up the trajectory for MCC7 and later for entry. So I was during the training I knew that the burn was not too much big deal, but I was a little bit concerned about that burn because I focused the training on what I considered other more important parts. MCC5 I didn't practice during the specific training only once, but the training I had during the specific didn't include all the procedures previous to that. I knew that was a risk, but it's a risk I could handle, and turns out I ended up handling very well during the actual real-time simulation. After mid-course correction 5, I intentionally woke up for the super critical helium disk burst to make a little bit of drama. It's not modeled in NASSP, but I wanted to create a little bit of drama there on the real-time simulation. And I did that. And this is where I started messing up a little bit with sleep cycles, because as I woke up for the supercritical helium disk burst, I missed the wake up at 111 hours, which included copying the procedures for battery charge and power transfer from LEM to CSM. I didn't miss anything because I had the procedures on the Apollo 13 ops report, and I started the battery charge. Sorry. I woke up naturally later, around 45 minutes later than when I should have started the battery charge, but I knew it was not a big deal. I think it probably will not matter on the actual mission either, doing the charge a little bit later. It was battery alpha started charging for the first time around half an hour late in our real-time simulation. I went back to sleep at 113 hours until 117 hours. And that concluded flight day 5. Flight day 6 started at 117 hours. Very quiet day. The first half of flight day 6, very quiet day. I consider flight day 6, I asked about this before doing the flight. I consider the flight day 6 from 117 hours to splashdown. That is what I consider flight day 6. You could say there is a flight day 6 and flight day 7, but I really consider flight day 6 as the full thing from, in my case, 117 hours to splashdown. So the first half of flight day 6 from hour 117 to 129 in my case were very quiet. Did the save with the fuel batteries at 129 hours. Remember, the battery charge is not modeled in NASSP. We are flying an out of scope mission from NASSP support, and I had to edit at various times the battery levels on the CM to indicate that they were charged. I was confused, and I hate when I get confused with procedures, because I guess I look very bad on the stream, so sorry for that. Ryan was trying to help me there during the stream. I was confused on which procedure to use on the Apollo 13 ops report, because for some reasons the procedures are not in order. They are all the procedures there, but are not in order, so I was not sure which one to apply. If page I have it around here. I don't know if I had to use E-46 or E-45 or any other. That confused me a little bit. And by the way, on flight day 5 we powered up the command module 2 times to get telemetry snapshots. It was very good. However, unfortunately for this particular flight, due to changes from my ISP, I could not expose the ports for you guys to take a look at my telemetry. And then the problems started on flight day 6. We had, after a wake up at 132.5 hours, it was around 3 AM for me, and also for them, of course. We perform a good initial LEM power up, including the pings, and we had problems with REFSMMAT calculation, which were because I thought it was that I was applying the procedure to calculate the special REFSMMAT incorrectly. There was a special REFSMMAT and then a P30 REFSMMAT. On that part of the mission, you put on the actual slot a special REFSMMAT calculated in a very particular way, and then on the desired REFSMMAT you put a P30 REFSMMAT for MCC7. So when I did all of that, and when I loaded P52 on the step 4 on P52, I saw a roll of 180 degrees, and that didn't make sense. So I said, hey, stop here, something is wrong. And I started to look around, did the special REFSMMAT procedure 2 or 3 times. Everything was good, and then went to the P30 REFSMMAT and changed the heads option, and that is when it started to work. So because of a misunderstanding on my part, I selected the wrong heads option for the P30 REFSMMAT, and I believe that particular thing happened during the training in a different way, but because I didn't have the concept correctly understood, I lost like 30 or 40 minutes figuring out with REFSMMAT, trying to trying to solve the thing, until I finally touched the P30 REFSMMAT, changed the heads option, and suddenly it worked. But until I didn't analyze this thing, I didn't know what the problem was until I've analyzed the thing with Indy and the other guys after splashdown. It was that head option. After that, I could complete the P52 on the LEM. So now we had a platform reference to later transfer to the CM and perform an MCC7. And now we proceed to service module separation, where before that I performed the RCS hot fire on the command module. And it's very fun, because after analyzing the thing, let me check the GT where I performed the initial mistake, and I tell you guys in detail. One moment. Okay, at 19 minutes and 42 seconds into the flight, I made the mistake where I closed the propellant valves on the CM RCS, and that is because there was a typo, there was a mistake on the actual Apollo 13 launch checklist. But for some reason during the training, I performed the same step, but during the training, months prior to the mission, left the valves open. So that is why I didn't have this behavior on the training, and happened on the actual real-time simulation. So during the trainings, my valves were open because I didn't trust that particular step, and on the training for the launch on the recent weeks before the real-time simulation, I performed the step by the book, and the book said close CM reacts propellant valves. Close the CM propellant valves, and I closed them. And then after closing those valves, I prevented the RCS on the CM for working. The CM RCS didn't work never until later, which I will explain now. I thought I was passing the hot fire test, but what we really were firing during that hot fire was the service module RCS. Okay, after that, it's just very funny. After that, we performed the service module separation, didn't have -X thrusters. I asked for help, but resolved myself. It was the balance couple switch. Since I was in axe control, the balance couple has control there, and that allowed me to have -X. I would like to make a comment now that pisses me a little bit. The actual crew was very fast doing the procedures, and that stressed me a little bit. I already knew this from the training, that they were going to do the procedures very fast, but stressed me just a little bit, but not a big amount, because I knew that they were going to do things fast. Okay, now remember that on flight day 5 I mistakenly opened all the circuit breakers on panel 226. So when we were continuing the power up on the command module, I was confused about having no mission clock, and started to look around on the cabin everywhere where the problem was. Lost a little bit of time there. The mistake was that all the circuit breakers were opened on panel 226 when I was doing the square one checklist. Okay, and later when I was to maneuver to entry attitude after lem jettison and all of that, lem jettison was done, I think, without major issue, more than the actual crew was very fast. I had to do it later than on the actual mission, and I was trying to maneuver to the entry attitude, but the RCS didn't work and I was defeated. At that moment I was mentally dead. No more Turry in the CM cabin. I didn't understand what was going on, but it was that mistake I did that 19 minutes and 42 seconds on flight day 1 about closing those propellant valves. And well, I don't remember very well the details on that, but the CM propellant talbacks were unpowered, and when unpowered they default to gray, so I didn't know that the valves were open, because the talbacks were gray. And as I lost a lot of time there figuring out what happened with the RCS, I ended up cycling the propellant switches back up, and then it suddenly worked. I skipped the moon check when maneuvering to the entry attitude. I skipped the moon check. I didn't intend to do it anyway, because I think I had more things to care about than the moon check. However, I looked a little bit out of the window and saw that the moon was there, and also the sextant star check passed. As I was late, I didn't properly initialize the EMS. Then during the entry in the set that the EMS was no go, and I answered, yeah, sure, I didn't do the initialization procedure. For that, I completely skipped that, but no problem. I think I will share the EMS scroll. But well, we performed a nice re-entry, and before the re-entry I am very glad about something. As I know myself, I know myself a little bit better after Apollo 12. I asked on the chat, please tell me things to check on the CM, things that I could have missed. Because I was all over the place. I was very tired, very stressed. Yeah, but we performed a nice entry. Little bit late ELS switches, and when the main chutes came, I was wordless. I was wordless, and I thought that I was going to to cry when the main chutes deployed, but I didn't. I don't know why, but I think I was just very exhausted even to get emotional. I was wordless. I didn't know what to say from the moment that the main chutes opened until I completed the initial procedure for after splashdown. So that's it. Apollo 13 is welcome back. I love this picture they placed on the projectors of mission control. This is of course from Apollo in real time.org. So yeah, I think that concludes this debriefing. Of course, you will have more details on the post-flight files I always post after the mission. So as I said the other day after splashdown, now I will have a little bit of time off, a long little bit, because I completed a very special mission, one which I wanted to do from a long time ago. So yeah, I don't have anything else to say. Everything was very smooth, all the smooth that it could be. All the mistakes on Friday 5 and 6, I am very sure there were because of mental exhaustion. I am not a pilot. Maybe some pilot or something can tell me what human factors really do, but of course, as we all know, astronauts are incredible. I told it during the real-time simulation, talking about Sarah, that she is a hero. How the training process is, how they fry your brain on the training process to make sure that you are still working. And I am a normal person, so I think these things that happened to me during the real-time simulation are very normal and amplify the fact that Apollo 13 was a big thing on engineering, support, ingenuity, mankind, good values, incredible. So without anything else to say, guys, I see you around the channel doing other things in these months other from NASSP. I have more things to learn in NASSP to be able to do Apollo 14 in the future. I think I just touched the surface of what can be done with RTCC. And see you on the next one, guys. Thank you very much. It's been an authentic honor to fly this mission on the 55th anniversary. Thanks everybody. See you on the next one.